Hi, welcome back to Word Magic, where we talk about all things writerly, about magic and paganism, and ways to live a joyful life. If you haven't yet, then subscribe to my channel and hit that ringer below so you get notifications of my new videos. We'll get started here in just a moment. I'm going to be answering some reader questions, talking about living with chronic conditions, and other such things. So, a brief introduction for those who don't know me. I am Yasmine Galenorn. I'm a New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author of over 65 books. I have over 23 years experience in the business professionally. I spent 20 years in traditional publishing, mostly with New York publishers, and I have spent the last 3 years as an indie author, and I'm headed into my 4th year as an indie author. So that's a little about who I am. So first, up to reader questions. Caitlin wanted to know, and without giving spoilers, if I knew the ending of the Otherworld series from the beginning, or if that's how it evolved. That is how it evolved. Basically, I think by Moon Shimmers, I knew who the casualties were going to be. And by Harvest Song, which was book 20, I knew the epilogues. And then when I started writing Blood Bonds, the very last chapter that so many of you have commented on, I didn't have that planned out, but then all of a sudden it was just like, that's how it needs to end. That's where it needs to end. So yeah, it was an evolution over the entire 21 book series. Now another reader question is from Beck, who asks, I once read that Anne Rice would lock herself in her study for days on end while writing when she was near the end of a book. Do you have any eccentricities with your writing processes? I don't think that that's exactly an eccentricity. I think that sometimes is just the work process of the person. Now, I do like, I need to start each new book with an entirely clean office. So my assistant Andrea and I go through when I finish a book and sort out my office and make sure everything is totally organized. I like to keep it organized as much as I can anyway, because I have somewhat of OCD condition where clutter makes me panic and I can't think. So for me to be able to write, my office needs to be uncluttered anyway. I think we'll go with Ryan's question. I read somewhere that Stephen King supposedly received enough rejection letters to paper his study. Do you have any advice for handling rejection from publishers? Well, given that I spent 20 years in traditional publishing, yeah. Rejection is a fact of life, no matter whether it's traditional publishing or indie publishing, because it comes from readers too. The easiest way to deal with it, and it's never easy, but the best way to deal with it is to remember most rejection isn't personal. It's not aimed at you, the person. It's because a publisher may not be publishing what you're writing. They may not be publishing that genre at all. They may have published something similar to what you just wrote. It just may not resonate with the editor. There are a million reasons why you are going to get rejections. And also, the flat bottom line is there are so few books published from traditional publishers compared to how many are submitted. You are a number. You are a statistic. Now, when I was strictly traditional publishing, before I got my first contract, and back then indie, if it was around, I had never heard of it. But before I got my first contract, and that was in 1996, I got my first contract. And I was 35 at that point. So I had been trying for a long time. I had accumulated 600 rejection slips. So I know what rejection feels like. It doesn't stop there. Once you get accepted, or once you publish a book, say, on your own, readers will reject you. I didn't like that book. I hated that book. Oh my God, you should see some of the nasty comments I've gotten on my work. And you just have to process it through, vent to a friend, not online. Don't vent to your readers. And then let it go, because honestly, you're never going to be able to write for everybody. If you did, you wouldn't be writing anything, because everybody has such a different taste level of what they want, a different idea of what makes the perfect story or the story that they want to read, that you can never check all the boxes, and that's okay. I mean, that's the way life is. When you go into a furniture store, you don't necessarily like everything there, even though it's a perfectly serviceable sofa. You may not like that sofa's look. You may not be comfortable on that sofa. It may be perfect for your neighbor, but it's not perfect for you. The best way I found to deal with it is to look at every rejection slip as a mark that I was trying. I was trying to get published. I was working on it. And it meant that I had put myself out there. So that's my best advice on that. Now I'm going to address something that I started to talk about in the earlier question, where I was talking about eccentricities in my writing process and staying up all night to finish a book and so forth. I used to do that, and I can't anymore. As a number of you know, I have a condition called histamine intolerance, and it is symptomatic of mast cell problems, and there's, a chance that I have a mast cell disorder, which I'm looking into with my doctor. Either way, it is a chronic condition that no amount of wishing seems to be making go away. And it's a condition I have to deal with every day. I cannot stress my body out anymore. And it plays into my mind as well. If I watch, say, anime too late in night, or if I play very vivid video games too late in the evening, I will dream in animation and I will not reach a full lower sleep. I will not get into that restful sleep. My mind will just be flashing the neon colors and the animation of the game, and it will put me in a mind loop, and it will just keep running and running and running and keeping me on that place where I am somewhat awake, not fully asleep, and it won't stop, and it will exhaust me. It exhausts my mind, it exhausts my body. So I've had to adapt on how I spend my leisure time. I've also had to adapt on my work, because too much stress will set off reactions, and too much stress will inflame my body. I have a lot of inflammation in my body, and I'm working on dealing with that, but again, it's a vicious circle. So I've had to adapt my work habits, and I have had to start focusing on getting my work done as early as I can, and on focusing more on work rather than being on social media, for example. I love Twitter, or I used to love Twitter. It's gotten very vicious over there now, and I found that I have to lay off of there a whole lot, because the stress of seeing what's going on in politics, and the stress of dealing with just the bitterness of some of the industry personnel and publishing and other things, it sets my body up for reaction. I stress, I tighten up. It's like it releases cortisol in my body, and that will trigger a reaction. I've had to try and work smarter, not harder, because I can no longer pull overnighters. I can no longer let it matter if I don't get the book done today instead of tomorrow. That's one thing I am very grateful for, because being indie now, I can change some of my dates if I need to be. I try and plan in enough time to work on things, and I try and plan in enough time in case of a reaction. Now, I used to write fewer books, although they were a bit longer with a traditional publisher, but there were a lot of things that I had to do there. I had to constantly be out on social media. I had to constantly be trying to arrange blog tours and this and that, because they push you. They push you really hard. And I tried to be as cooperative as I could. And they would, send me notes of, well, this slipped through the cracks. Can you get this done in 2 days? Like with interviews, or with, for example, copy edits. I get them and they want to turn around in 2 days. So now I can make my own schedule, and that has been a saving grace. But old habits die hard, and I have to actually use the Pomodoro technique, which is bringing up a timer and writing for a certain amount of time, then taking a break, and so forth. Basically, I write in sprints now, and I try to do edits and stuff in sprints, because I will lose track of time, and I will sit here for way too long without standing up, without giving my body a chance to shake out. And it's a learning technique. I find I am less stressed now. The process of going indie was very stressful. The process of realizing I had to go indie was very stressful. But now that I'm there and know pretty much what I'm doing overall, I'm actually a lot less stressed, and I'm a lot more happier. And that makes a difference in a chronic condition. So whatever you do for a living, whatever your job, if you have a chronic condition, try and find a way so that your body is, so that you are less stressed, so that you put less stress on your body. Emotional stress takes a massive toll on the physical. If you don't have problems at this point, good, yay for you. Keep it that way. Get enough exercise. Take breaks when you need to. I'm not good on vacations. I don't do well on long vacations. I found that out recently. I took 2 weeks off, and by the end I was just like, okay, I'm really getting irritated. But what that told me is I need to build in, 2 or 3 days off here and there throughout the year, so that I take that time, but I spread it out. I also have to, build in time that I can use in case I have a reaction. There are mornings when I wake up after I have had a Benadryl night, as I call them, where I am just so groggy and so out of it that all I can do is sit here and barely stare at the screen. Days like that, work doesn't necessarily get done as easy. I may be able to do some things, but I can't necessarily do, write clear, rough draft. I can't necessarily edit and know that I'm doing a good job. So I suppose what I'm saying is, take the time to look after your health, because there's only so much that you can put yourself through and stay alive. I've known too many people, and at this age, I'm 58 now, and at this age, you start losing people. You know, you start losing people to heart attacks. You start losing people to aneurysms. You start losing people to cancer. And I don't like losing my friends. And I don't like losing people I care about or that I admire. And I decided I don't want to be in that position of going, oh my God, I have run my health into the ground to where this and this and this. So I am doing what I can to continue to earn a living, because yeah, we all have to earn a living, and yet make sure that I'm looking out for myself as much as I can. That's one reason why I'm doing videos now and pulling back from the rest of social media, why I'm focusing on my blog more, because I can control when I do that. I can control the energy that goes into it. I don't have to sit there and see all this stuff come through that, you know, I can't do much about, but that triggers me into a panic state or into an angry state. If we live in anger, your body's going to show it. If you live in fear, your body's going to show it. So try to make your time comfortable and happy, and make the changes you need to support your health. I feel like I'm doing a PSA for the Surgeon General or something, but honestly, if you don't have your health, you really don't have much of anything. And if you don't have your health, mental or physical, you can't support those who count on you. And ultimately, isn't that what life is about? Is supporting the ones you love and them supporting you, and finding the joy that you can. I run a very private group that is for good friends only, that I call Creating Joy, and it's to remind us to look for joy every day in our lives, whatever joy we can find, because the more you look for something, the more you're going to find it, and the more you'll notice it, the more prominent it becomes. So if you look for anger, if you look for negativity, if you look for crap, you're going to find it. You're going to see it. It's there. It's out there. But if you look for joy, if you look for something good, you will find that as well. And sometimes you have to make your joys. And making your own joy can be as simple as going and playing with your cat or your dog or your child for 10 minutes. You know, that little bit of spark can make a great difference to a bad day. I highly encourage you to keep a gratitude journal or a joy journal if you prefer. Pick a beautiful planner. You know, it's like, as I said, I love planners. I love blank books. So pick a planner or something that gives you joy to look at. And every day, especially at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, sit down and look over the good things that you can find that happened. And they don't have to be huge. Small things add up. Things matter. Little things matter. Find what makes your life special and focus on that. And find what makes you special. Find your own talent and focus on building yourself up instead of wishing you had somebody else's life. And building yourself up instead of tearing other people down. I think that this is actually a soapbox topic for me. As I can see, I've really gotten into discussing this today, and sometimes I think I have in the past deleted parts of my videos where I got on a tear about something. But I think today I'll let this stand because it really means something to me. It really matters to me. And finding the joy in the path that's yours, that is something that nothing can compare to. When you have that inner knowledge that you are truly living the life you are meant to live, that you love and enjoy, nothing can take away that joy and that knowledge that you're doing what you're meant to do. I think I was always meant to go indie at some point. It hurt dramatically when I realized that the publisher was no longer publishing stuff that I wrote. It hurt, and it made me angry, and I was furious, and boy did I vent, and I was afraid. I was terribly afraid that I couldn't do this on my own. And now, you know, I worked through the emotions, I worked through the process, I worked through the learning curves, and I just decided I was, you know, if this was the direction that I was going to go, I had to embrace it. And so I embraced it, and now I am happy, and I am joyful, and I'm writing stuff that I love, and the readers are finding their way to me, you know, and yeah, I've lost some readers who didn't want to move in the direction I was going, and who didn't like that they can't buy the books at Walmart or this or that. But I've gained other readers, and I'm grateful for that. And, you know, I'm joyful with what I'm doing now. And I want that joy for you in your own life, which is why I encourage you to take care of your health, mental and physical and emotional. You know, and I'm not saying that you have to be fully able to be healthy or to be happy, but you have to come to that place of taking care of yourself. And this has become a very long sort of rah-rah, you know, cheerleader session, so I think I'll leave it at that. But it's come to my mind more and more lately. Just, I've seen a lot of writers in a lot of poor health who are not taking care of themselves, who are letting themselves be beat down, who feel it's a badge of honor to basically drag themselves out, to basically exhaust themselves. And honestly, it's not worth it. It really isn't. It's not worth your health. You know, find a way to be proud of your work, for something else. Be proud about what you love to write. To be proud of that you're writing the best books you can. Not that you are exhausting yourself night after night. Because in the end, you know, if you die 10 years too early because the stress took a toll on you, think of all you could have accomplished in those 10 years. And maybe it would have taken a little longer for some of what you've done, but really, quality matters, and quality of life matters. So I think I will leave it at that, and wish you a wonderful week, and talk to you later. And I'll answer more reader questions and talk more about writing later on. If you have any questions relating to other things, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I will tackle them as well as I can. Bright blessings, and have a wonderful week.